Hiya guys, so we're going to look at over skimming walls today, plaster skimming. This week we've shot a video that includes everything, so sheeting up, surface prep, scraping down. We'll show you the ratios of the PVA and how we get it to dry fast as well, so we're not hanging around. Beading up, so we'll show you how we measure and cut beads and how we fix them on. So that'll be part one. There's going to be two parts to this video because it's quite extensive. The first one is 20 minutes long, and then we'll move on to part two next week, which will be mixing up and skimming, so actually applying the plaster and troweling up. Really appreciate it if you do subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. And again, if you've got any questions on plastering, anything related to plastering, just drop it in the comments, and again I'll always answer any questions that you might have. Have a great weekend guys, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers guys. We're going to run through how we prep this room before we start plastering. So we use a product called, just show them off this cut, we use a product called TPS plastic. We can pick this up from your local merchants, we get it from Salco's. And if they're keeping the carpets, we'll roll that out everywhere, and then we'll use a tape. We normally use a blue masking tape, Hippo, but we've run out of that, so we're going to use this stuff here, and we just run that round the skirting line. So any drips of PVA and plaster, rather than landing between the carpet and the plastic, it'll hit this, and then when we're all finished, we'll roll it up into a ball, and then we'll just stick it straight into the recycle bin. So before we start putting the PVA on the wall, what we do, we take an old trowel that we don't use for finishing, just an old roughing trowel, what we call them, and we'll go around and we'll scrape down the walls, just in case there's any loose paint, picture pins, things like that. So we'll do that now, I'll show you. You just put the trowel on edge, okay, and just doing circular motions all the way through the whole surface, even if it looks fine. Don't just turn up and start rolling PVA, because there could be loose paint. For example, if you zoom in on here, Kurt, you look down this edge here, all the paint was loose, so that's all had to be stripped back. And there's been things like plugs and screws and pins, so all that's got to come away first. We'll go, take the trowel. Do that right the way through the room before we apply the PVA. Okay. So the PVA, we'll show them how we dilute that cut. So this is all pretty much ready to go. I'm going to add a little bit more, it's a bit runny. We use these old detergent tubs, which are ideal because we can carry it about in the van. They come with lids. Drill a little hole in the lid, and you've got a container there which can go straight into the side door of the van, and it stops it spilling out. Unless Kurt puts it away and then it spills. That's another story. Yeah, we'll top that up. And depending on your surface, you want it kind of like melted ice cream is how we do it. If it's not particularly high suction, you can have it a bit runnier. So because these walls are quite modern, they're all stud walls with a matte paint over them, the suction ain't too bad, so we're going to thin it down a little bit more than what we would. So zoom in on there, Kurt. So we've got them it slightly runnier than what we normally would. There is bits of plaster and all sorts in this, but we like to leave that in because it creates like a nice key for the plaster. So we don't actually clean these tubs out. We leave them all manky, and all the grit and dust over time actually creates a really lovely key and gives it almost like a grip. Okay, so when we're applying the glue, we'll start typically in the top left corner, just roll it on. And obviously make sure you're getting decent coverage, and don't let your roller run dry, keep dunking it in. And obviously when you get to your corners, we use a small cutting in brush just to touch all the corners up. Sometimes we'll put food colouring in the PVA because it's translucent or white. If you're going onto quite a light background, such as this one, we're all right today because we can sort of see in the light here, look where we've applied the glue, but sometimes, depending on the light, you won't be able to see very well where you've applied the glue. So if you get misses, or if it's a bit patchy, it could cause issues later on with the plaster not bonding very well. So it's a little tip for you. I lob a bit of food colouring in, red or green's a decent one. A couple of tubs of that into the mix, and then you can clearly see where you're laying on, or even a couple of handfuls of bonding coat or skim. Mix that up into the glue and it'll give it like a pinky colour, and you can see where you're applying. Right guys, so we'll run you through how we bead the corners when we're re-skimming. Get your tape measure, and you want to go from your skirting to your ceiling line, but give yourself a little bit of tolerance. Don't go really tight so you've got to wedge the bead in. Give yourself a couple of mils, so we'll go at 22.85 there. You'll transfer that measurement onto your bead. We use the Irwin tin snips, the decent pair of snips. Don't buy cheap tin snips, they'll only let you down. What did we say the size was, Kurt?
22.
22.85.
Yep, 22.85.
Zoom in, mate, and we'll show them how we do this. Right, so we've got 22.85. Use your thumbnail just to mark out where you cut in, and then just do one straight cut there. Okay, retract your tape, spin it round, we'll chop the other side, and then the bead will just come away. Okay, and then we use the Arrow rechargeable staplers. So I've got a couple of mil at the top, I've got a couple of mil at the bottom, not much. Once it's all skimmed and painted, you won't see that tiny gap, but it just allows for tiny movements. If you've got a stud wall like this, if there are tiny movements, if your bead's really tight to the ceiling and the skirting, there's risk that it could pop. You end up with a horrible crack running down the corner of the bead. We always tape them with scrim, but again, use that tolerance, a couple of mil each end, and then you literally just wallop them in. So you want to staple around every sort of 8 inches. Just zoom in here, Kurt. That'll go straight in. Another tool that you've probably seen us use on the YouTube vids for fixing beads is the Von House brad nailer. This one here. We bring this one out if you struggle to get a fix in with the Arrow, which 9 times out of 10 this will do the job, unless you've got things like rendered corners, in which case we'll bring out the brad nailer. This fires little 30mm brads. So I've shown this on a previous vid. But just to show you this, sometimes with the Arrow, they have gone in, but on the odd one, if I find where it is, see there, look, instead of it firing through, it's just crimped the staple instead, and it's just crushed the staple. The bead's still fixed, but sometimes it just hasn't got enough power to go through the new bead and then through the existing bead, which is behind here. And instead of firing through both skins, it'll just bend. So sometimes we'll bring out the Von House brad nailer, and I'll just demonstrate the power of this one. Hopefully it's charged up enough. Okay, and you can see there it's fired straight through with no dramas at all. Put a few in to show you, just to demonstrate. Okay, so it's fired straight through the new bead, through the existing bead, with no worries at all. They're also good, as I say, if you've got rendered corners or corners that are quite solid, you've got a standing cement mix, you can fire these 30mm brads straight through and you'll get a decent anchor. Another new product that's recently emerged is the Bead Fix Tape, which if you jump onto Trial Talk, Plasterers Help Group, our Facebook group, you'll see some ads on there for a product called Bead Fix. We're going to actually review Bead Fix over the next couple of weeks when I get an opportunity, and we're going to test it out. It's got positive feedback. So basically, instead of using staples or pins or sticking your beads, this stuff comes in a roll of tape, and you rip a piece off and stick them on. Looks like quite a speedy system. Looks like a decent product if you're stuck and you need to get your bead on fast onto some rendered corners or concrete corners. Again, we'll try that out as soon as we get an opportunity over the next week or two, and we'll let you know our thoughts on it. Kurt's just finishing the last of the gluing up. I'm going to chuck this fan on now. Use these big fans most days now, because we don't want to be waiting around for glue to dry. We want to get in and get out and onto the next job. So, and you can't apply your skim plaster onto wet glue, despite what other plasterers tell you. I always skim onto dry glue or almost dry glue. Yes, you can skim onto tacky glue, but if it's borderline runny, not tacky, you're going to get slip, what we call slip. So you'll put your plaster on, and the glue's that wet and slimy that your gear will literally slide down the wall. You don't want that happening. Get your glue dry or almost dry before you apply your skim. Let's whack this fan on then. We'll chuck that on, full power, and we'll just fire that at the wall there, and within half hour that'll be ready to plaster. Curtis has been naughty and forgot to cut in around the light switch. Make sure when you're gluing up, just double check and triple check that you've covered everything. Don't want to leave any dry spots, because there's risk of your plaster delaminating and not bonding properly. So just take the extra time needed to go around all your architraves, your skirting lines, your ceiling lines, your corners, around all your little switches. Just reassure yourself that you've done it, because the last thing you need is skim flaking off and you come in to get a callback. So just take the extra 10 minutes needed. Make sure you've covered the whole wall. It's another reason we sometimes chuck food colouring in, because you can't go wrong. You can see clearly where you've missed. Where when it's translucent like this, it's easily missed. So we're going to plaster all these walls today. Starting in this corner here, we're going to plaster all the way around, back into this corner. We're going to do all of this wall here around the door, and then we're going to do this wall here as well. So that'll leave this fiddly section to do tomorrow. It only looks small, but I don't want to throw all this on tomorrow and then have to worry about lobbing other bits on as well, because if you have a look, we've got a Artex finish. We've got a strange contraption there. I don't know what that is. We'll take the hammer to that and get rid. I think they've hung something on there before. We'll get rid of that. The ceiling's stepped as well. We've got a funny step here, then it steps down again here. We've got beading all around here and nibs to do. We've got a funny little gap above the door, and then we've got more nibs running around there, and then that side piece, and then the back. So although it's a small area, there's loads of nibs and loads of beads and the corner trowel will be getting some mileage on this tomorrow as well. So I'm going to hopefully lob all this on today, and then tomorrow I'll focus on this fiddly bit. Also, we noticed earlier that if you have a look, that side's at least ½ inch lower than this side. So I'm going to try and build the bead out a bit here and keep it tight there. So once it's all decorated, that'll be nice and level and it doesn't look rough. Not the same problem that side, look. It's a bit wonky. We'll hopefully rectify that tomorrow. So Curtis is just putting some scrim on any cracks that are showing through on the walls. Once the PVA is picked up a bit and it's tacky enough, while you're hanging around waiting for the bits that are still drying, you just go around and we'll just tape up any hairline cracks that we see on the wall. Typically you'll get them above doors, above the corner of your doors, where the door's being slammed, around radiators, corners. So there was one here in the corner. We've taped that, and we always tape along the ceiling line. The ceiling was done last week on that wall as well. Again, you can see one here, look. Typical stress crack above the door. One in the corner. There's not many, to be honest. Again, these internal walls are stud partitions, so you'll find you won't have many when they're made up of plasterboard, but it's worth just going over, triple checking that there aren't any nasty hairline cracks, because there's risk, if you skip them, there's risk of them coming through the new plaster skim. So always take the time and try and have a look round and see if you can find any cracks and get them taped up. We always tape our beads as well. Possibly a bit OCD, I know a lot of spreads don't bother, and that's fair enough. We always do it because over the years, on the odd occasion, I mentioned before, now and again you get a little hairline crack popping through where the wing of the bead and the plaster meet, and that's one of the reasons I try and keep that tiny gap above the top and the bottom of this bead, just to stop any movement on the bead. Put plenty of fixings in and tape it, fine, we don't have any issues. Curtis is going to have a go at skimming this wall here today. Wait, how old do you think Matt is today?
19.
19?
Yeah. Nah, I would probably say 26, 27 max.
That was being really polite. He's 40.
40, jeez.
It's a big 4-0, mate.
Big 4-0, man. Getting grey hair soon.
Yeah, he looks extremely well and fit for 40, I'd say. What do you reckon?
Yeah, he looks quite fit.
Yeah.
No, not in that way, but like...
Yeah, fit. You fit as in hot or...
Nah, like fit as in muscular.
Muscular?
Yeah, muscular. Yeah. Yo, Matt, it's your birthday. You like cats. Don't step in the cow pat. Pat them up. Happy birthday, Matt.
Alright guys, so we're going to mix up now. Kurt's just put his mask on. I'm not going to wear a mask, I normally would, but I want to communicate with you effectively so you can hear me. So what I will do, I'll put this fan on and we've opened the door to try and push the dust out that way. We'll put the fan on. So a couple of things to mention. An old dustpan brush, we'll use that as a scrubber to clean your tools down and your buckets. Okay, and then we've got a gauging trowel, which we've just dumped in the water. Always wet all your tools up as well, plastering. Okay, so we're going to do a 2-bag mix in this bucket.